I have some bad news for you. This is the last time we'll be meeting.
With the release of the new Joker film, it got me thinking, how on earth did a movie like Joker become greenlit by Warner Brothers in the first place? It's completely different to the standard comic book movies we've been seeing, a drastic change for DC to include a standalone film that had nothing to do with the extended universe, and it was going to be an R-rated film. It all seemed way too good to be true. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've made it to the Joker's release, and for the most part, people are loving it, myself included. But still, the question remains, how did this film come to fruition among all the other superhero movies being released around it? It all started in around 2014. Joaquin Phoenix was in talks to play Doctor Strange in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Eventually, that plan did not follow through due to Joaquin Phoenix not being interested in playing a superhero for more than one film. Phoenix did, however, have interest in playing a comic book character in a low-budget, character-focused story. His agent would suggest Phoenix to meet with Warner Brothers in hopes to see if there was a possibility of him starring in a standalone comic book film. Ultimately, Phoenix declined the request. Todd Phillips was also given opportunities in the past to direct comic book films, but was not interested in doing so either. Todd Phillips was similarly interested in filming a more grounded, character-focused comic book film with the Joker being at the forefront of the story. Phillips grew an interest in the Joker as there was not one specific portrayal that the Joker needed to follow. There was some room for creative freedom. Phillips would pitch an idea for a Joker film to Warner Brothers, saying that DC needed to do what Marvel wasn't: create standalone films with smaller budgets. After Wonder Woman's success in 2017, DC started to follow the path of standalone films rather than trying to shove every DC hero in one big movie. Warner Brothers would reveal to the public that a standalone Joker film not related to the DCEU would be coming, with Todd Phillips directing and co-writing the film with Scott Silver. Martin Scorsese would also be producing. For the most part, the idea of the film was met with intrigue and skepticism. At the time, DC did not have the greatest track record with their films, and seeing them try something completely different out of the blue, the skepticism was more than justified. In September of 2017, Leonardo DiCaprio was considered in being cast as the lead. That obviously did not end up happening because in July of 2018, Joaquin Phoenix would be officially cast as the Joker. Phillips would go on to say that the script was specifically written for Phoenix playing the iconic role. An added plus for Joaquin Phoenix was that because the movie would not be connected to the DCEU, he would not have to star in multiple films, which was what stopped him from being a part of the MCU in the first place. Phoenix stated that the Joker was a film he was very interested in being a part of. This was a comic book film that was unique and unlike any other being released at the time. Unfortunately, due to Scorsese's obligations at the time, he had to leave the production of the film. Phillips and Silver would write the film in 2017, taking about a year to complete the screenplay. It would take some time to get the okay from Warner Brothers due to the content in the movie. Phillips' intention was to create a new story among the plenty of Joker stories that were already out there, a brand new interpretation for the screen. As many have noticed by now, the film was heavily inspired by Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy. But what many don't know was that the Joker was also inspired by other character-driven films like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Serpico. What's interesting to know is that Phillips believes that aside from the tone, the film does not differ that heavily from his other features he's directed. Pretty interesting to say the least. While the Joker's premise was inspired from The Killing Joke, Arthur Fleck being a failed stand-up comedian, the story told in the 2019 film does not follow any specific story from the comics. Rather, they picked bits of the Joker's history and selected what they thought would work for the film they were creating. The common Joker origin story of falling into acid was seen as unrealistic to Phillips and Silver. Due to them not being tied down to any particular Joker story, it would lead them to having more creative freedom as there was no definitive origin story of the Joker. They were able to push themselves creatively to make the film they wanted to. Principal photography began in September of 2018. Zazie Beetz stated that during the production, Phillips would rewrite the entire script. Actors would go into Phillips' trailer, write and act out the scene for the night, and then film it. After seeing the finished product, I would have never guessed that the entire movie would have been rewritten during production. Phillips stated that Phoenix would walk off set because he could not control himself and needed to self-compose due to the intensity of the role. Robert De Niro was one of the few actors that Phoenix never walked out on. There really is not a whole lot of information on anything else in terms of the filming process. There was, however, a complaint from SAG that extras were being held in subway cars for longer than 3 hours in Brooklyn, breaking violation. A representative would visit the set and resolve the issue quickly. The Joker would premiere at the Venice International Film Festival on August 31st, 2019. It received an 8-minute standing ovation and a Golden Lion Award for Best Film. It would also screen at the Toronto International Film Festival in September of the same year, garnering even more praise. The film would eventually release on October 4th, 4th, 2019 in the US with very high anticipation. The film, however, would not be playing at the Aurora, Colorado movie theater, where unfortunately in 2012 a shooting would occur at the premiere of The Dark Knight Rises. Some movie theaters would prevent people from dressing up as the Joker during the showings and have security guards present at the theaters. The box office of the film, while is a bit too early to give a definite answer on, is shaping up to be a massive success. It's very possible that this could be the first film to open up at a $100 million opening weekend release in October. This bodes very well for the future of comic book films. Joker will pave the way for filmmakers to be more creative in the way they go about writing and directing comic book films. The possibility of studios releasing standalone, character-driven, grounded comic book movies that tell their own unique story is something that I've been personally wanting to see for years. And the fact that Joker could very well be the reason that these films get made, well, that's pretty freaking awesome.